Welcome to the History of Simple Things, where we delve into the fascinating history behind the little things that shape our world. Welcome to an in-depth journey through the fascinating history of the computer mouse. From its humble beginnings as a wooden block with wheels to the sophisticated devices we use today, the evolution of the computer mouse is a testament to human ingenuity and the relentless drive to improve how we interact with technology. Let's dive into the story of this indispensable tool that has shaped the way we use computers. The story of the computer mouse begins in the early 1960s with a visionary named Douglas Engelbart. Engelbart was an engineer and inventor working at the Stanford Research Institute, SRI, in Menlo Park, California. He was deeply interested in the potential of computers to augment human intellect and believed that the key to unlocking this potential lay in improving the way people interacted with machines. At the time, computers were primarily used for complex calculations and data processing, and interaction with these machines was limited to punch cards and text-based interfaces. Engelbart's vision was to create a more intuitive and efficient way for users to communicate with computers. He and his team at SRI, including Bill English, began experimenting with different input devices. Their efforts culminated in the invention of the first computer mouse in 1963. This early prototype, known as the XY position indicator for a display system, was a simple wooden box with two perpendicular metal wheels that could track movement on a surface. Engelbart's invention was revolutionary because it allowed users to move a cursor on a screen in real time, a concept that was entirely new at the time. The origin of the name mouse is a charming anecdote in the history of this device. During the development of the prototype, Engelbart and his team noticed that the cord attached to the device resembled a mouse's tail. This visual similarity led them to whimsically refer to the device as a mouse. The name stuck, and despite the evolution of the device's design over the decades, the term mouse has endured. This name captures the device's simplicity and the almost playful nature of its interaction with the user, contrasting sharply with the often complex and abstract world of computer technology. The first public demonstration of the mouse took place on December 9, 1968, at the Fall Joint Computer Conference in San Francisco. This event, now famously known as the mother of all demos, showcased a range of innovative technologies developed by Engelbart's team, including hypertext, video conferencing, and collaborative real-time editing. However, it was the mouse that captured the audience's imagination. Engelbart demonstrated how the device could be used to interact with a graphical user interface, GUI, manipulate text and graphics, and navigate through information seamlessly. This presentation laid the groundwork for many of the computing concepts we take for granted today. Despite its groundbreaking nature, the mouse did not gain immediate popularity. Throughout the 1970s, it remained a niche device, primarily used in research laboratories and by early adopters of personal computing. One of the first significant commercial uses of the mouse was in the Xerox Alto, a pioneering personal computer developed at Xerox's Palo Alto Research Center, PARC, in the early 1970s. The Alto featured a GUI and a 3-button mouse, which allowed users to interact with the system in ways that were previously unimaginable. However, the Alto was never commercially released, and its influence was limited to those who had access to Xerox's experimental technology. The mouse's fortunes began to change in the early 1980s with the advent of personal computers designed for the mass market. One of the most pivotal moments in the history of the mouse came in 1983 with the introduction of the Apple Lisa. The Lisa was the first commercially available personal computer to feature a GUI and a mouse. Apple's decision to include a mouse with the Lisa was influenced by a visit to Xerox PARC by Steve Jobs and other Apple engineers, where they saw the Alto in action. The Lisa's mouse was a one-button device designed to be simple and user-friendly, in line with Apple's philosophy of making technology accessible to everyone. Following the Lisa, Apple released the Macintosh in 1984, which further popularized the use of the mouse. The Macintosh's innovative GUI, combined with its bundled mouse, made it a landmark product in the history of personal computing. The success of the Macintosh demonstrated the practicality and appeal of mouse-driven interfaces, encouraging other computer manufacturers to adopt similar designs. The 1980s saw a proliferation of GUIs and mice, with companies like Microsoft, IBM, and Commodore integrating these technologies into their systems. The design and functionality of the mouse continued to evolve throughout the 1980s and 1990s. Early mouse were mechanical devices that relied on a ball and rollers to detect movement. These mouse required regular cleaning to maintain accuracy and were prone to wear and tear. In 1988, Logitech, a company that would become synonymous with computer peripherals, introduced the first commercially successful optical mouse. Unlike mechanical mouse, optical mouse used a light-emitting diode, LED, and a sensor to detect movement, eliminating the need for a ball and providing greater precision and reliability. As personal computing became more advanced, so too did the mouse. In the 1990s, the advent of the scroll wheel revolutionized how users navigated through documents and web pages. Introduced by Microsoft in 1996 with the IntelliMouse, the scroll wheel quickly became a standard feature on most mice. This simple yet effective innovation allowed users to scroll vertically without having to move the cursor to the scroll bar, significantly improving the user experience. The late 1990s and early 2000s saw further advancements in mouse technology. Wireless mouse began to emerge, offering users greater freedom and reducing desk clutter. Early wireless mouse used infrared or radio frequency (RF) signals to communicate with the computer, but these technologies had limitations in terms of range and reliability. The introduction of Bluetooth technology in the early 2000s addressed many of these issues, providing a more robust and versatile solution for wireless connectivity. In addition to improvements in connectivity, the design of the mouse continued to evolve to enhance ergonomics and functionality. Ergonomic mouse were developed to reduce strain and discomfort associated with prolonged use, addressing concerns about repetitive strain injuries, RSIs. These designs featured contoured shapes, adjustable components, and alternative input methods such as trackballs and touchpads to accommodate different user preferences and needs. The evolution of the computer mouse is not just a story of technological advancements, but also a reflection of broader shifts in the computing landscape. From its early days as a tool for researchers and hobbyists to its role as a central component of everyday computing, the mouse has adapted to meet the changing needs of users. The rise of mobile devices and touchscreens has certainly impacted the mouse's dominance, but it remains an essential tool for many tasks that require precision and control. Looking to the future, the computer mouse will likely continue to evolve in response to emerging technologies and user needs. The history of the computer mouse is a rich and multifaceted story that spans over 6 decades. From its inception as a wooden block with wheels to the sophisticated devices we use today, the mouse has undergone a remarkable transformation. It has played a crucial role in shaping the way we interact with computers, enabling the development of graphical user interfaces and revolutionizing personal computing. As technology continues to advance, the mouse will undoubtedly continue to evolve, adapting to new challenges and opportunities while remaining an essential tool for users around the world. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the history of the computer mouse. In the modern world, keyboards are everywhere. They are the primary interface between humans and computers, allowing us to communicate, work, and play in the digital realm. But have you ever stopped to wonder why the keys on your keyboard are arranged the way they are? The ubiquitous QWERTY layout, which has been around for over a century, is so familiar that many of us never question its origins. In this video, we will delve into the history and evolution of the QWERTY keyboard layout, exploring how it was developed, why it became the standard, and how it has adapted over time to remain a critical tool in our digital lives. The QWERTY keyboard layout, an omnipresent tool in modern life, is so embedded in our daily routines that many of us seldom consider its origins or the reasoning behind its specific arrangement. The story of QWERTY begins in the late 19th century and is intertwined with the development of the typewriter, a revolutionary invention that changed the way people communicated and processed information. The creation of the QWERTY layout is attributed to Christopher Latham Sholes, a newspaper editor, printer, and politician from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. In the 1860s, Sholes, along with his colleagues Carlos Glidden and Samuel Soule, began working on a machine that would become the first practical typewriter. Their prototype, completed in 1868, was a rudimentary device that typed on paper by pressing keys, each of which would strike an inked ribbon to print a character. The early typewriters, however, had a significant problem. The mechanical arms, or type bars, that struck the paper would often jam if adjacent keys were pressed in quick succession. This flaw necessitated a solution to improve the machine's functionality and reliability. Sholes' solution was to design a keyboard layout that would minimize the likelihood of jams. By placing frequently used letter pairs farther apart, he reduced the chances that the type bars would collide. The QWERTY layout, which Sholes patented in 1873, was thus born out of necessity rather than optimal design. The name QWERTY comes from the first 6 letters in the top row of the keyboard. Sholes' typewriter, marketed as the Sholes and Glidden typewriter, was eventually manufactured by E. Remington and Sons in 1874. It became the first commercially successful typewriter and solidified the QWERTY layout's place in history. The adoption of the QWERTY layout was not immediate, nor was it universally accepted. As typewriters became more common in offices and businesses, the need for standardization became apparent. Typists trained on one typewriter needed to be able to transfer their skills to another without relearning the layout. Remington's early dominance in the typewriter market helped cement QWERTY as the standard, despite its initial flaws. Other layouts, such as the Dvorak simplified keyboard, proposed in 1936 by Dr. August Dvorak, and his brother-in-law, Dr. William Deely, claimed to offer more efficient and ergonomic designs. However, these alternatives struggled to gain traction due to the widespread establishment of QWERTY and the significant cost and effort required to retrain typists. Despite its somewhat haphazard origins, the QWERTY layout has proven remarkably resilient. The advent of computers in the mid-20th century saw the transition of typing from mechanical typewriters to electronic keyboards. The familiar QWERTY layout made this transition smoother for users who were already accustomed to it. As personal computers and later mobile devices became ubiquitous, QWERTY remained the dominant layout, a testament to its entrenched position in the world of typing. The persistence of QWERTY can be attributed to several factors beyond simple inertia. One is the vast network effect. The more people use QWERTY, the more valuable it becomes to others. Manufacturers of keyboards and electronic devices have little incentive to deviate from a standard that the vast majority of users are familiar with. Additionally, the cost of changing to a new layout, both in terms of retraining users and modifying hardware and software, is substantial. Another factor is the evolution of touch typing, a method where typists learn to type without looking at the keys. The QWERTY layout, while not optimized for speed or efficiency, became the foundation upon which touch typing was built. Typing classes in schools, typing tutorials and software have all perpetuated the layout, creating generations of typists who are proficient in QWERTY. The digital age has introduced new challenges and opportunities for the QWERTY layout. With the rise of smartphones and tablets, on-screen keyboards have become prevalent. These virtual keyboards often employ predictive text and autocorrect features, which can mitigate some of the inefficiencies of the QWERTY layout. Moreover, the advent of voice recognition technology offers an alternative to typing altogether, though it is unlikely to replace traditional keyboards in many contexts. Interestingly, the QWERTY layout has seen variations and adaptations to accommodate different languages and alphabets. For example, the AZERTY layout is used in French-speaking countries, and the QWERTZ layout is common in German-speaking regions. These variations maintain the basic structure of QWERTY, while making adjustments to better suit the linguistic and cultural needs of their users. The story of the QWERTY keyboard layout is a fascinating example of how an invention can shape and be shaped by the forces of technology, economics, and human behavior. It highlights the complex interplay between innovation and standardization, and the ways in which practical solutions to immediate problems can have lasting impacts on society. The QWERTY layout, born out of a need to prevent mechanical jams, has become an enduring fixture in our digital lives, demonstrating the power of historical contingency in the development of technology. As we look to the future, it is likely that QWERTY will continue to be a part of our daily lives, even as new input methods and technologies emerge. Its story is a reminder that the tools we use are not always the result of deliberate design for optimal efficiency, but rather the outcome of historical processes and practical necessities. The QWERTY layout, with its origins in the 19th century, remains a key interface between humans and machines, a testament to the enduring influence of early technological decisions. The QWERTY keyboard layout is more than just an arrangement of keys. It is a symbol of the history and evolution of typing technology. From its creation by Christopher Latham Scholes to its establishment as the standard through the dominance of Remington typewriters and its persistence in the digital age, QWERTY has shown a remarkable ability to adapt and endure. Its story is a fascinating chapter in the history of technology, illustrating how practical solutions to specific problems can have far-reaching and lasting impacts. As we continue to navigate the ever-changing landscape of technology, the QWERTY layout stands as a reminder of the enduring legacy of early innovations and the ways in which they shape our interactions with the world. Imagine for a moment a world without the internet, or at least without the web as we know it today. A world where retrieving information meant flipping through pages of an encyclopedia or making a trip to the library. It's almost unthinkable now, given how deeply the web is woven into the fabric of our daily lives. But there was a time, not so long ago, when the idea of browsing the web was just a dream. The tools we take for granted today didn't exist. That all changed with the advent of two groundbreaking web browsers, Mosaic and Netscape. These were the pioneers that took the web from a curiosity in academic circles to the vibrant, interconnected ecosystem it is today. In this video, we're going to dive deep into how Mosaic and Netscape revolutionized web browsing, paving the way for the internet as we know it. Before we talk about Mosaic and Netscape, let's rewind a bit to understand what the web was like before their arrival. The concept of the World Wide Web was first proposed by Sir Tim Berners-Lee in 1989. His vision was to create a system where documents could be linked together, allowing users to navigate between them with ease. By 1991, the first website was launched, and with it came the birth of the web. However, early web browsers were far from what we use today. They were text-based, meaning there were no images, no graphical interface, just lines of text. These early browsers were clunky and difficult to use, accessible only to those with a technical background. It was clear that for the web to reach its full potential, it needed to be more user-friendly and accessible to the general public. In 1993, a group of developers at the National Center for Supercomputing Applications, NCSA, at the University of Illinois changed the game. Led by Mark Andreessen and Eric Bina, they developed a browser called Mosaic. Mosaic was revolutionary because it was the first web browser to display images in line with text rather than in separate windows. This might sound trivial now, but at the time, it was a game changer. For the first time, users could experience the web in a more visually engaging way, with images and text together on the same page. Mosaic was also easy to use, with a point-and-click interface that made navigating the web intuitive. You didn't need to be a tech expert to use it. In fact, it was designed specifically with the average person in mind. Mosaic's impact was immediate and profound. Within just a few months of its release, it was being downloaded by thousands of people. It was available for free, which further fueled its rapid adoption. Mosaic helped to popularize the World Wide Web, transforming it from a niche tool used by academics and researchers into something accessible to the masses. By making the web more visually appealing and easier to navigate, Mosaic opened the door for millions of people to explore the internet. It's no exaggeration to say that Mosaic was the spark that ignited the web revolution. The success of Mosaic didn't go unnoticed. Mark Andreessen, one of Mosaic's creators, quickly realized that the web had the potential to be much more than just a tool for academics. He teamed up with Jim Clark, a Silicon Valley veteran and founder of Silicon Graphics, to start a new company called Netscape Communications Corporation. Their goal was to create a more powerful and feature-rich web browser that could cater to the rapidly growing number of internet users. The result was Netscape Navigator, released in December 1994. Netscape Navigator was, in many ways, the next logical step in the evolution of web browsing. It built upon the foundation laid by Mosaic, but added a host of new features that made it even more user-friendly and versatile. For example, Netscape was faster and more stable than Mosaic, which was crucial as web pages became more complex. It also introduced innovations like the ability to browse multiple websites at once using a tabbed interface and the ability to display secure websites using encryption. This last feature was particularly important as it laid the groundwork for the growth of e-commerce. What really set Netscape apart, though, was its vision for the future of the web. Andreessen and Clark didn't just see the web as a tool for retrieving information. They saw it as a platform for building all kinds of applications. They envisioned a world where everything from shopping to banking to entertainment would happen on the web. This vision was encapsulated in the company's motto, "The web is the future." Netscape's aggressive push to make the web central to everyday life paid off. By 1995, Netscape Navigator was the dominant web browser, with a market share of over 80%. Of course, Netscape's dominance didn't go unchallenged. Microsoft, the tech giant that had already established itself as the leader in the software industry, saw the web's growing importance and decided to enter the fray. In 1995, Microsoft released Internet Explorer, a web browser that was initially based on Mosaic's source code. The stage was set for what would become known as the browser wars. Microsoft's approach was aggressive. They bundled Internet Explorer with their Windows operating system, which was already installed on most personal computers. This gave Internet Explorer a huge distribution advantage. Over time, Microsoft continued to improve Internet Explorer, adding new features and making it more stable. They also engaged in tactics that many saw as anti-competitive, such as making it difficult for users to uninstall Internet Explorer or use other browsers. Netscape fought back, releasing new versions of Navigator with even more features and innovations. But despite their best efforts, they couldn't keep up with Microsoft's massive resources and distribution power. By the late 1990s, Internet Explorer had overtaken Netscape as the most popular web browser. Even though Netscape ultimately lost the browser wars, its impact on the web cannot be overstated. Netscape Navigator helped to define what a web browser should be and set the standard for future browsers. Many of the features we take for granted today, such as tabbed browsing and secure connections, were pioneered by Netscape. Moreover, Netscape's vision of the web as a platform for all kinds of applications was incredibly forward-thinking. It laid the groundwork for the modern web, where everything from social media to online shopping to cloud computing happens in a browser. As for Mosaic, its legacy lives on in the DNA of virtually every web browser that followed. Mosaic showed the world what was possible with the web, and its innovations helped to make the web accessible to millions of people. Without Mosaic, it's hard to imagine how the web would have evolved. Netscape's story also didn't end with the browser wars. In 1998, the company released the source code for Netscape Navigator to the public, giving birth to the Mozilla project. This project eventually led to the creation of Firefox, a browser that remains popular to this day and continues to carry the torch of innovation that Netscape first lit. The stories of Mosaic and Netscape are a testament to the power of innovation and vision. These two browsers didn't just make the web more accessible, they transformed it into the dynamic, interactive platform that we all rely on today. They showed us what was possible, and in doing so, paved the way for the countless web-based applications and services that we now take for granted. So the next time you open your web browser, take a moment to remember Mosaic and Netscape. Without them, the web might be a very different place. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.